guys, welcome to Truth Talkin Thursday. This is Jim. I'm Jane. This is all about careers that I'm thinking about now. So I've had a few businesses. I've started a few businesses, and somebody told me I had a very entrepreneurial mind, and I never really diagnosed that or ripped it apart or thought about it before. In my mind, as Jim and I were just talking, I did what I had to do. That's how I would have described it in my mind. In any case, what was interesting to me was that I had a friend of mine suggest that I do something different than what I'm doing right now. And it made me think. So we've talked before how Jim has spent the last, several years of his life dedicating it to a program in regards to revamping our educational system. And one thing, if I can grasp one thing about the depth of what he's trying to change, is how we teach our children how to think for themselves in a way of what they might want to do with their lives and how to make that happen. I'm sure I'm not alone in this, having found that I have settled for a career path that isn't necessarily what I want for the rest of my life. As we get older, we realize that it's important to take advantage of each day, live it to the fullest. And we've heard so many times, do what you love. And Jim, I asked you earlier, what made you take the career path that you did? What made you decide on that?
How do we know what we want to do? It will, the universe will kind of tell you. You get interested. It's easy to determine the things that you don't want to do.
Well, as Jim said, it starts with your interests.
Yes.
And so that's what I think is the most important thing for us as adults that might be struggling with that, and even to help our children. Interests tell you something.
Kids are never encouraged really by the system to follow their own interests. The kids aren't allowed really in the system that's available there now to determine for themselves who and what they want to be when they grow up.
There's certain courses that are compulsory. Like I remember that going to school, right? You have to take those.
And math and history, the STEM programs are called. We learn at different speeds, different rates. We shouldn't have a grading system. Somebody once said in my research that grades are for meat and vegetables and fruit, not for kids.
So we've all had those aha moments that have brought us to understand sort of why something is important. It's like Jim was explaining to me about the program. If little Johnny comes in and says, I want to be an engineer, and you say to little Johnny, okay, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to become an engineer? And little Johnny says, well, I'm gonna learn how to build those big buildings. And so, teacher Jim here says, okay, we're gonna need to learn some math. Little Johnny says, I hate math. I'm not doing math. All right. Teacher Jim says, all right. Just a question for you though. How much concrete are you going to need for this building? How many people are you going to need to hire to accomplish this build? How long is it going to take you? And then little Johnny has the moment to say, oh, well, yes, I do need math to figure that out. But then Johnny has made the decision to take math. He hasn't had it crammed down his throat to try and understand what pi r squared means and have no clue where it applies to anything that he wants to do.
Right. That's exactly it. But go to my website. It's jimclowley.com. And I've put the program that we've worked, the 3 or 4 colleagues of mine and I have worked together for 3 years to put this together, and explain why we need to kind of do this differently, why we need to get rid of testing, why we need to get back, standardized testing. We need to change the way we do things because our kids are missing out on education.
And actually
they're not competitive.
Very valuable education in the sense that it actually will help them with their lives as a whole. And that's something that we're missing.
Not only their lives, but kids that are well educated and that are getting what they need, not what the system tells them they need, but what they need from the system. We've got it all turned around in that we're telling students it's their responsibility to understand the information, the data that's being shoveled at them by the ton every day and expected to remember it all. It's not the kids' responsibility, it's the responsibility of the educational system to teach the kids in a way that they can understand.
Yeah.
So that they can take that aha moment like Jane was talking about and move ahead with it and apply it as they keep going and as they get older and as they get into bigger systems and all that kind of thing.
It's all part of the bigger scheme of thinking for ourselves. We encourage our children to think for themselves, and yet we squash that by not following through with the end result of the thinking for yourself.
Yeah.
As adults, we talk about self-care. We talk about, going after that promotion. We talk about all of the things that are important to us. And some of us have taken a long time to get where we are, and to have the understanding that we do. What stands out to me so much is that it's great that we're encouraging our children to think for ourselves, but let's follow through with it. And I really believe that Jim's program and this self-directed learning, and we need to pass this along to the younger generation as well, and encourage them not just to blindly go after what they want, but to give them the tools to do so, to actually make them think. Don't just blindly tell your kid, "Oh yeah, honey, you want to be a rock star? Go ahead, I know you got it." Mm-hmm. Well, how are they going to do that? Let's give them the resources to do it.
Yes, and let's as much as we may not agree with their choice in terms of who they want to be when they grow up, it's not our lives to play with.
Not at all.
It's their life to play with. Think about how many kids you know, one, that drop out of school. Two, how many teachers do you know that are really, really dissatisfied with the system that they have to work in because they recognize what we're talking about here in terms of the system that should be working and is not. They're forced to work in a system where they're that talking head at the front of the class. How many kids do you know that do you ask them, you say, "Well, how's school?" "It sucks. It's boring. It's not interesting. I hate it. I don't want to do it." How many kids do we know that are saying those things? Why do kids that go to university drop out halfway through? Because they don't feel like they're being trained in a way that they can be competitive when they finish. And they're going to put together an $80 or $90 or $100,000 student loan that they can't pay for because they can't find a job anywhere because they're not trained to work in the new global economies that are coming out because of the technology that's being developed so quickly that they can't keep track of it. So we're not preparing our kids really, really well for those generalized career choices.
I really believe that for anyone who is searching for something more challenging, I really believe it starts with thinking for yourself, and, as Jim said, focusing on your interests and letting it blossom from there. Encouraging yourself to think, okay, well, I really enjoy this. Can I make a career out of this? Well, I'm not really sure, but let's gather some information on it. Most of us have, I would say, a wide array of interests.
Oh, sure.
And often, we just don't really think outside the box as to what that can mean for a career choice. And in this information age that we're in, we have at our fingertips a huge array of choices when it comes to how to earn a living.
Yep, we do. And we're not, for the most part, we're not being encouraged to follow up with those things.
I think that bears some thought. So take a ride to Jim's website, check out the program, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for stopping by.